females should participate in society rather than be seen as domestic house people. So I think that because women comprise half of the population of the world, they do have a kind of a purpose in the world. And I think gender equality is quite an important issue for the world. I think it's often neglected because people don't see it as important. But in fact, if you consider the fact that half the population of the world, that's like 7 to 8 billion people, are female, then you can consider that maybe gender equality is quite important in the world, perhaps in solving some of the problems of the world. So I think females can participate in society. I don't think they do it as much. I think they participate in society maybe on a 20% level. They can rise up to maybe 40 or 60% participation in all aspects of society, including government, business, industry, sports, music, TV and film. So I think if you have more females participate in those areas in society, then they become more powerful, they have more rights, and they can contribute more and have more of a say. They can express their ideas and views and concerns and have more of a say in the world, and perhaps address some of the issues that are important for women in the world. So I think that would be a positive situation. I think that would be a good move forward. But unfortunately, if you look at the history of women, they don't seem to participate very much in society. I think they live in closed doors. They simply cook and clean. I think that's the role that women have in history in the world. They're simply expected to cook and clean. I think that's the expectation of women in history and the world, to cook and clean. So they're often forgotten and abandoned. So I think that's the kind of the makeup of women and females in the world and in history. And it's still very much 60% of the case now. I think most females are just expected to cook and clean. That's all they seem to do, which is very disappointing. If you look at the history of women and females, you can see they're very redundant and passive. They don't seem to have the same contribution to the world and its history as males do. If you look at the history of the world, I think most of the history and development of the world has come from males and men who have built up the entire world. And if you look at the contribution of women, it's kind of been more limited. I think we've had 1 billion powerful men in the world who have built the world. But if you look at how many female historical figures we have in the world, we have maybe 100 or 1,000 historical female figures, so it is quite limited. I don't think women have contributed much in developing the world and in the world. So I think that if you look at the female sex with animals and people, they all seem to be passive and redundant as people. They seem to have a fatigued biological condition, which makes them behave very redundant. I think if you look at the male species, they seem to be very active and intellectually active. But I think if you look at the animal kingdom and people, I think females tend to be very redundant in their nature. In the animal population, with birds and lions and elephants as well, I think that the female population are always redundant. I don't know why they're redundant, but they don't move around much. They don't do much. They just seem to be pacified. So there is, I think that women are redundant in the world. I think that's what it is. I think women are redundant in the world. So that seems to be some kind of a condition. But I think the other concern is that there seems to be a lot of female violence now as well. And I think that started with Hollywood and Tomb Raider, where there was a concept that females could live at the same standard as males, and that could include violence as well, and female violence. So I think females also have an issue with female violence as well, and they have more of the same standard of preoccupation as males, with jobs and money and lifestyle and socializing as well. So I think that females, women and females with gender equalities have changed over the past 20 years, primarily with Hollywood and films like Tomb Raider and Bridget Jones, and perhaps other films that make it acceptable for women to behave like men. And I think that's how women behave, like they behave like men, and that includes a lot of verbal abuse and violence as well. So I think there are issues with gender equalities and especially female violence. Thank you.